For years nobody could explain it. There was no public argument. No explosive interview. No dramatic confrontation caught on camera. Just silence. One night, she was sitting in the most powerful chair in television, trading jokes with the man who ruled late night. The audience adored her. He trusted her. He laughed with her in a way he didn't laugh with anyone else. And then suddenly, she was gone. No farewell episode. No tribute. No emotional goodbye. She simply never came back. At first, fans assumed it was temporary. Maybe scheduling conflicts. Maybe she was busy. Maybe she'd return next season. But she didn't. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into years. And eventually, people began to realize something chilling. She hadn't left. She had been erased. What nobody understood at the time was that one decision, one phone call she never made, had triggered a chain reaction that would end one of the closest relationships in television history. And the man behind that decision? He wasn't just a host. He was the gatekeeper of fame. His approval could make careers overnight. His silence could destroy them just as fast. And once he decided someone no longer belonged in his world, there was no way back. Not even for the woman he once called family. To understand how everything fell apart, you have to understand the empire he built. Because during his reign, Johnny Carson wasn't just a television personality. He was television itself. Every night, millions of Americans tuned in to watch him sit behind that desk on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. It wasn't just entertainment. It was ritual. Families went to sleep after Johnny said goodnight. Comedians built their entire futures around one moment, one chance, to make him laugh. Because if Johnny Carson laughed, America laughed. And if America laughed, your life changed forever. There was something hypnotic about him. His timing was flawless. His confidence effortless. He didn't need to shout or demand attention. He controlled the room with a raised eyebrow and a half smile. But beneath that calm exterior was something far more complicated. Johnny Carson didn't just host the show. He owned the night. And everyone in Hollywood knew it. There was a moment every comedian dreamed about. It was called the wave. After a comedian finished their set, Johnny would sometimes gesture them over to sit beside him. That simple motion, just a small wave of the hand, was more powerful than any award. It meant he approved. It meant you mattered. That moment transformed unknown performers into stars. Names like David Letterman and Jerry Seinfeld became household names because Johnny Carson believed in them. But what nobody talked about publicly was the other side of that power. Because just as easily as he could invite you into the spotlight, he could shut the door forever. And when he did, he didn't need to explain himself. He didn't yell. He didn't issue statements. He simply stopped calling. And that silence was louder than anything he could have said. Behind the scenes, performers whispered about it. They knew there were invisible lines. Lines you couldn't cross. Rules nobody explained. You could joke with Johnny, but never embarrass him. You could shine, but never outshine him. And above all, you had to remain loyal. Because loyalty meant everything to Johnny Carson. And one woman, more than anyone else, learned exactly what happened when he felt betrayed. Her name was Joan Rivers. At first, their relationship looked like a fairy tale. When Joan first appeared on The Tonight Show, she was struggling. She was talented, fearless, and sharp, but she was still fighting to be taken seriously. Female comedians weren't treated the same way. Doors stayed closed. Opportunities were limited. But Johnny saw something in her. Something electric. Her jokes were fearless. Her delivery explosive. She didn't just tell punchlines, she attacked them. And Johnny loved it. He didn't just invite her back. He championed her. He gave her more appearances. More exposure. More opportunities. Eventually she became more than just a guest. She became his trusted ally. When Johnny was away, Joan filled his chair. And that was no small thing. Sitting behind that desk meant trust. It meant approval. It meant he believed she represented his legacy. To the public, they looked inseparable. He was the king. She was the heir apparent. Their chemistry was undeniable. Their bond seemed unbreakable. But behind the scenes, Joan Rivers was starting to see something Johnny didn't want to admit. Her future wasn't guaranteed. Despite her loyalty, despite her success, despite everything she had done, she began to sense the truth. She wasn't next in line. She was just temporary. And that realization planted a seed. Because while Johnny controlled the present, Joan needed to secure her future. Then one day everything changed. A brand new television network was trying to break into the industry. They were desperate to compete. Desperate to survive. And they made Joan an offer nobody had ever made her before. Her own show. Her own desk. Her own kingdom. The network was Fox Broadcasting Company. This wasn't just another hosting gig. This was history. If she accepted, she would become the first woman to host a major late-night talk show on a major network. It was everything she had worked for. Everything she deserved. But there was a problem. She knew how Johnny would react. And she was terrified. Not because she didn't believe in herself, but because she knew Johnny Carson didn't share power. He was the center of the universe. And anyone who tried to create their own universe risked becoming his enemy. Joan hesitated. She agonized over the decision. She knew this could change her life forever. But she also knew it could destroy the most important relationship of her career. In the end, she made her choice. She said yes. But what happened next shocked everyone. Johnny Carson didn't hear it from her. He heard it from someone else. And in Johnny Carson's world, that was unforgivable. He felt blindsided, humiliated, betrayed. He had given her everything. And now she was building something without him. He didn't call her to ask why. He didn't confront her face to face. He did something far worse. He cut her off completely. When she tried to call him, he hung up. When she wrote letters, he never replied. When she tried to explain herself, he refused to listen. He didn't scream. He didn't argue. He erased her. And just like that, Joan Rivers was no longer welcome. Not just on the show, but in his world. Producers stopped inviting her. Industry insiders grew cautious. Executives paid attention to Johnny's silence, and they followed his lead. Because nobody wanted to risk their own standing by supporting someone he had rejected. And Joan felt it immediately. The warmth disappeared. The invitations stopped. The phone stopped ringing. It was as if the ground beneath her feet had vanished. For years she tried to repair the damage. She sent letters. She reached out. She hoped. But Johnny never responded. Not once. Not publicly. Not privately. Nothing. And the pain stayed with her. Because Johnny Carson wasn't just a colleague. He was her mentor. Her protector. The man who believed in her when nobody else did. And now he was gone. Not dead. But absent. And sometimes absence hurts more than death. But Joan wasn't the only one who learned this lesson. Others discovered the same truth in different ways. Wayne Newton was once a frequent guest. Charming, talented, and beloved by audiences. But after a business conflict and a series of uncomfortable jokes at his expense, their relationship soured. Johnny stopped inviting him. Just like that. Rich Little, famous for mimicking celebrities, found himself drifting away from the show after pushing boundaries Johnny didn't appreciate. Dana Carvey delivered impressions that audiences loved, but Johnny didn't always share their enthusiasm. Howie Mandel brought unpredictable energy to the stage, but unpredictability wasn't something Johnny tolerated. Lola Falana spoke boldly about uncomfortable truths, and suddenly her invitations stopped. Even comedians like Kathy Griffin would later discover how fragile late-night acceptance could be. And performers like Bobcat Goldthwait learned that shocking the system came with consequences. Because the truth was simple. Johnny Carson didn't need to destroy anyone publicly. His silence did it for him. And yet, behind all that power, Johnny Carson himself was a man full of contradictions. Before the fame, before the empire, he was just a quiet boy with dreams. He served in the military. He studied at University of Nebraska. He worked small jobs. He struggled. He knew rejection. He knew insecurity. He knew what it felt like to be invisible. And maybe that's why control meant so much to him later. Because once he had it, he never wanted to lose it again. On camera he was untouchable. Off camera he was distant. He guarded his emotions carefully. Even those closest to him sometimes felt they never truly knew him. He married multiple times. He experienced personal tragedy. He carried pain he rarely spoke about. And when he finally stepped away from television, he didn't seek attention. He disappeared quietly. No farewell tour. No dramatic return. Just silence. The same silence he had given so many others. When he died in 2005, the world mourned him. He was remembered as the greatest late-night host in history. A pioneer. A legend. A king. And all of that was true. But there was another truth too. Johnny Carson didn't just create stars. He decided which stars deserved to exist. His approval was oxygen. His rejection was suffocation. And Joan Rivers carried that suffocation for decades. Even as she rebuilt her career. Even as she found new success. Even as she proved she didn't need him. The pain never fully disappeared. Because deep down she never stopped hoping he would forgive her. Never stopped hoping the phone would ring. Never stopped hoping the man who once changed her life would speak to her again. But he never did. And that silence became one of the most haunting endings in television history. Because sometimes the most powerful words are the ones never spoken. And sometimes the most devastating goodbye is no goodbye at all.